Welcome to the ArmaniTalks YouTube channel. I'm your host, ArmaniTalks. In this channel, I'm covering communication skills for you to level up your way with words, become much more articulate. In today's episode, we're going to be breaking down why a lot of smart people get depressed. Have you ever heard of the phrase, ignorance is bliss? Well, if you think about that, the remix to that is smart people are often depressed. I mean, I don't make the rules. I'm just reporting it. Why? Why is ignorance bliss? The reason that ignorance is bliss is because when you don't know something, now you don't feel guilty. There was this one time when I was trying to see who was exactly reading the ArmaniTalks newsletter. And when I turned the numbers, let's say 700 people were reading it, and I clicked the numbers, and the numbers turned into names. When I saw the names, I was mind blown. For one group of people, I had no clue who they were. But for another group of people, I knew who they were. And not only were these people that I knew, these were people that I admired. I thought, what the hell are they reading the ArmaniTalks newsletter for? It's probably just a one-time thing. So I find another newsletter, I click the numbers again, and I see a bunch of names. And this time, I once again see these people that I admire. I'm thinking, wow, these guys are daily readers? Really? Cool. So I close all the metrics, and I'm over here about to write my newsletter for the day. And as soon as I'm about to write it, that's when I begin to think a little bit more. I'm thinking, wait a minute, don't talk about this because this person may not approve of that. Don't talk about this either because that person definitely wouldn't approve of that. And after I got more information, I actually started to get analysis paralysis. I didn't like it. I liked it when these numbers were just numbers and I was ignorant on who was reading my newsletter. When I had all these information, when I became smarter about who was in my newsletter, I didn't like it. It gave me analysis paralysis. And whenever we're feeling depressed, chances are there's a lot of these options that we have in our imagination, and we have no clue which route to take. Anxiety, depression, it's often born from clutter. So the ignorance gave me clarity, but that is actually very contradictory because when we think knowledge, we think clarity. We don't think ignorance leads to clarity, but at times it does. I think willingly being ignorant in certain fields is a good thing. To this day, I don't click the numbers to see who is reading my newsletter. An outsider can come in and be like, well, Armani, aren't you somewhat ashamed to be ignorant on this matter? Not at all. I think certain times ignorance is bliss, and I think certain times ignorance is a form of leverage. But all this aside, why do smart people get depressed more? For two reasons. Number one is because now their decision tree of the mind is beginning to expand. Before, they thought there was just one way of doing things, but suddenly they have been introduced to another way of doing things. And this new introduction leads to some sort of resistance whenever they're thinking about executing this prior move. When they're thinking about executing this prior move, their back of the mind is like, wait a minute, don't forget, there's another path out there. Okay? Now imagine that this smart person just gets smarter. Rather than there being two paths, there's now three paths. And any time that this person was supposed to do this move that he only knew as one path before, now suddenly he has three paths, creating a bigger lag time. One of the biggest life ironies is that smart people often don't speak with the most confidence. Ignorant people speak with the most confidence because with ignorance, you're only given that one path. And if you're only given that one path, you could say it loud and proud with confidence, where if you're a smart guy, and someone just asks you a question, now your mind is boom, 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 boom. It's firing off in more cylinders, which at times makes a smart person sound unsure of themselves. So more decisions are being introduced and uncertainty is being introduced, right? So this is one reason why a lot of smart people get depressed. In addition to this, another reason smart people get depressed is that as they're being introduced to these new options, they're incorrectly assuming that other folks should also be introduced to these options. You see? So this smart person is getting smarter, but they are accidentally assuming that another person should be getting just as smart in this particular field that they're getting smart in. So let's say that this smart guy is becoming genius levels in terms of social skills. There's a lot of nuances that he's now seeing that other people are not seeing. Whenever he is having a conversation, he's like, I must ask questions and I must contribute back. This is what makes a great conversation. Okay? He's smart in this regards. But whenever he's talking to Jimmy is pretty dumb in this regards. All Jimmy does is he contributes, but he never asks this smart person questions back. And the smart person is thinking, well, I know the right way to execute myself in a social interaction. And I know it in a way where it's not just theoretical, it's practical as well. How come you don't know that? And imagine that enough Jimmys begin to stack up. Jimmy doesn't know it. Susie doesn't know it. Allison doesn't know it. Rick doesn't know it. And now the smart person is thinking that he's surrounded by a bunch of idiots, which further adds to the depression. So a lot of smart people end up being depressed because they're just given too many options at times. And in addition to this, they are feeling as though they are surrounded by morons. And what is one of the best ways to fix this issue? I believe one of the best ways to fix this issue is to apply humor. And I know this seems like a very silly response. It's like, wait, what? What are you saying, Armani? I mean, thus far you've been making sense, and now out of nowhere, you're just talking about humor? What gives? What gives is that humor is a lot like the balancing act. I'm sure you've seen the whole yin and yang symbol before. That's what humor is to intelligence. When you have too much intelligence, what I like to view it as is you're really top heavy in nature. You're one of those guys that goes to the gym, you do your bicep curls, your chest presses, your traps. I mean, the top half of your body looks amazing. But what about the bottom half? What about the legs? You got to balance it out as well. You see? So with intellect, humor becomes this beautiful balancing force. And you'll realize this a lot in movies. When's the last time you've watched an action movie? And imagine if the action movie is just one person killing the next, another person fighting, another person kicking. You as a consumer, eventually you're going to be like, damn, bro, so much action. Can someone please insert some sort of joke in it? And finally, one of the action stars does a little joke. I will be back. And he says it in a funny sort of way. And now it's like, whew, I can finally breathe. Jackie Chan and Arnold Schwarzenegger mastered that. They realized we can't just do action alone. That's going to overwhelm the audience. We need to sprinkle in humor as well. And the remix to this in the learning world is we can't just keep learning and getting smarter. We got to implement some sort of humor as well. We could be funnier. We could make fun in mentally of the Jimmys. It's like, oh, poor Jimmy. He's going to really struggle in a lot of these interactions because he just can't ask any questions back. Even if you are not a funny guy, if you use your tonality in a way to say a serious statement in a joking sort of way, it still fools you into thinking that this situation is funny. So I believe a great way that smart people can be less depressed is to balance the yin of intelligence with the yang of humor. And by doing that, now becoming smarter is a joy once again. You're not one of these smart people that look haunted. You're one of those smart people that look younger with each information that you consume. So if you enjoyed today's talk, drop that like for me right on below if you enjoyed this video, and I will catch you on the next episode. So stay safe.